Wait, what are you doing here? Well, Pokemon Masters has added yet another event, and I haven't talked about the game for a while, so what better time to bring it back up than, when we see Sonia and Perrin again. This is one taking place at the Pasio Academy that has had a few events before, but I'm gonna admit something. I kind of haven't really gotten too deep into many of the other Pasio Academy events, and this is really my first time actually playing through one basically completely, or even multiple times, to make sure I actually get the right rank. Yeah, like I said, perfect time to talk about things. Anyway, we start off the event with Arven as he's at the Academy, noticing that everybody's excited for the upcoming Academy Fair, but unsure of what he should do himself. Just then, we're met by Perrin and Sonia wearing Academy outfits, which, yeah, that's a whole thing. Then again, pretty normal thing for a gacha game to put grown adult characters in school outfits. But I guess Perrin and Sonia have a reason at least. Really, the Pasio Academy is open to anybody, but Sonia and Perrin are specifically both teachers and students at the same time. Normally there to teach classes, but for the moment they're trying to experience life as a student so that they can really get an understanding of how everybody feels as they're getting ready for the event, because they're supposed to be writing about the fair for the Pasio newsletter. And Perrin makes sense as the photographer, being able to take pictures of everything, and Sonia's there because I guess she's a researcher. Well, really when you think about it, she is a professor, but she is the youngest professor in Pokemon overall. So sure, okay, you guys can tag along. Well, actually, we're the ones tagging along, us the protagonists and Arven, who get to join Perrin and Sonia as they interview and photograph all the different groups around the Academy who are preparing an event for the fair. And to make sure they get some really good photos, they're each joined by a flying Pokemon, Perrin having a Noctowl and Sonia having a Corviknight. And I think that's a really fun idea because Perrin actually already had a Noctowl in the main game, so seeing her have it here is a fun treat. But then there's also the neat fact that Noctowl is used as the flying taxi transportation in Kitakami, which is where we first meet Perrin. And then of course we all know that Corviknight started the flying taxi trend in Pokemon in Sword and Shield in the Galar region. So yeah, they're both a really fun inclusion here. First, they visit the group who are setting up a haunted house, and all of the trainers are typical ghost-type trainers that we've known before, but they're all wearing their Halloween outfits from previous years, and that's also a funny idea to just bring these models back in because you don't really need to do anything different, but also you're still showing off a different official look that you already have for this character, and it's thematically appropriate. And of course, we'll be using actual ghost-type Pokemon in the haunted house. The next group is a band that is formed and is going to be performing on stage. That is also a pretty neat idea to have different types of performers all together. Obviously you have Roxy, who is a rock musician, and then Giacomo is there with his beats. But then even Tierno and Alicia get to join in as well because they're both used to dancing or performing on stage. Though obviously we also have Lita in the main series games of Pokemon Legends EA, but as I mentioned in a recent video, those characters have not been added to Pokemon Masters just yet, because otherwise I think it would have been a neat opportunity to include Lita and Tierno together, but I assume that when she finally gets added to the game, there's going to be a whole event around them meeting and interacting, so I'll save that for later. But for the moment, the last group we interact with are planning to set up a cafe, and they're reusing the outfits from various Valentine's Day events. Oh, also Derek is there because he's like one of the only Butler characters, and he's not like a student, but he's overseeing everything. Still though, I really think that maybe there's an opportunity for another character to have gotten like a Butler outfit at some point. But anyway, shout out to my boy Victor, who's also there, and while this might seem like the perfect fit for Arven, he doesn't necessarily decide just yet. Though really that is just about the end of the event as they all catch up later saying, oh, we had such a fun time, it was really cool seeing everything, and we got some great photos. And the reason this may feel a little incomplete is because this is actually the part 1 of the story. There will be another event in the future that actually follows up on the school fair, and on top of that, the players are actually going to get to vote which of the 3 attractions we saw are going to be developed into a full story later on. So that is your choice of starters. Do you want to see the haunted house, the band, or the cafe? Personally, while I think it would be really cool to see the haunted house, I kinda would want to see the cafe storyline. But then again, the band has the opportunity to provide the most new stuff because the others are kind of having similar veins to previous events that we get every year. So really truly, that is the one I might want to see because it could provide the most variety. But let me know in the comments which one you would want to see. Most of this actual event takes place in the Academy with the gameplay that accompanies it, though like I said, this is kind of my first time really getting into it in recent memory at least, and I honestly think it is a really fun idea. It's weird how it is self-contained from the main part of the game, but it sort of condenses the gameplay loop into its own little campaign, and I think that's a fun idea. And then there's also the fact that because of how it's set up, you get the opportunity to see some additional character interactions, which again is what incentivizes you to play multiple times. There's a moment where Sonia and Miriam get to talk for a bit, both of them are sort of having a similar similarity of being relatively young teachers, who while they enjoy leading the classes, also get to experience the classes themselves here on Pasio. There's a moment where Perrin gets to meet Viola, both of them being photographers, so I think it's great that they get to talk about photography, having their shared interests, and then also learn from each other. Arven gets a moment to talk with Mala, planning what kind of treats they're going to have for the event, and Arven kind of brings in the idea of how people normally eat outside in the Paldea region, so that's kind of a fun little perspective that he provides there, but meanwhile Mala also brings in the malasadas, so potentially we get a cool little cultural fusion. And then of course finally the last special interaction focuses on Sonia and Perrin themselves, and that is yet another good pairing, as Sonia is somebody who's a young professor and learned a lot from her grandmother, but also in expanded stories we kind of seen her getting a little overwhelmed with all the work that she has, as well as maybe not necessarily comparing herself to her friends, but just seeing how they're also growing and changing in their own ways. And then we have Perrin, who is somebody in the video games having an arc of like thinking that she peaked too early, basically being a photography prodigy who felt that she burned out too soon and needed help getting back her motivation. The whole point of both of these characters is that they achieve so much being so young, and yes, they still both are technically adults, but they're very young adults when compared to the other ones in Pokemon. Really, in the video games we see them spending most of their time with the child protagonist, and while they're still in a mentor role, there is a reason that they find it a lot easier to interact and relate to them. But anyway, that's just about all I got for this event. I think it was a really fun one. Again, you know, the gameplay was really good and I enjoyed it. Actually, really now getting to dive into the Pasio Academy stuff, and you know, I was totally missing out, but also getting to see some of my favorite characters from recent Pokemon games just hanging out was great as well, and I am really interested to see how things develop later on. So like I said, let me know what you think in the comments below about this event and what you want to see going forward. Remember to also leave a like, subscribe, hype up the video, all of that cool stuff as well. Though right now, let me get back to my own studies because I am having so much trouble remembering anything about math. Thank every channel member for your continued support, including the great Gators, Piwas, Mao, Kiko, Kaiser, Noobvi, Jellyfish Sheep, ITC, Lord Jeff, Hype, Pepperton, Big D Joe, Dr. Shaky, AK Jess 413, Ark, Laserbeak 316, Alex with Shiny Hunts, Starshooter, Koi 13, Cemetery Hill, Cheese at 62, Gator Kid 509, TF, Mathaclock 947, Taijirai, and Quago. If you'd like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes, 4 comments, live streams, sometimes early videos, and our members only Discord server, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I will catch you all later.
Cliffhanger week on Pokemon! Brock is turned into a doll, these Gyarados want to eat Pikachu, and Ash has been turned into a ghost! Will everything be okay? We don't know!
What?
We don't know! The episodes all ended before we could find out what happened!
But I want to know!
Right! Tune into Pokemon Cliffhanger Week to find out starting Monday on Kids WB!